Yes, one of the indicators in the Bible that makes you realize that the people believed that they were currently living in the end times and that Jesus would come back before this generation would pass, which makes all the writings in Matthew, Mark, and Luke suggest that there will be those who are living today that will not taste death at the writings of Paul. In Paul's writings, one of the biggest indicator, which is so misused in so many churches, is the fact that he's told people that they should remain chaste, that they should not marry, that they should remain a virgin, that they should not chase after men or women. But if they can't help themselves, if they're burning with this lust for sexual intercourse, then they should marry, for it's better to marry than to burn. And most churches will use this part of the Bible to talk about people having sex out of wedlock, people living together without getting paperwork by the government that would then validate that you are married. But what Paul was actually saying is that Jesus was going to come back in their generation. So it's better for the people to focus on just serving God, serving Jesus, instead of getting married, having families, having babies, this sort of thing, as if life was going to continue beyond that particular generation. But if you can't, if you don't have the strength within you to live this pious life to which Paul was trying to get you to do, try to live like a monk, then you should go ahead and marry, because it's better for you to marry than to burn with the lust of desiring to be with someone. This is not so much an indicator of marriage and having what they determined to be immoral sex. This was more about staying focused on Jesus instead of what goes on in everyday life. Paul was not trying to create a message there about sexual immoralities and having sex out of wedlock, because in their time frame, when you had sex with someone, that was the marriage. It had absolutely nothing to do with any documentation. Most people didn't have documentation of marriage back then. Only those who had money, land, animals, who had something for inheritance may have had some type of paperwork that identified who they married and their children, so that the inheritance wouldn't be squabbled over. But because we look at things from our mindset today, people say, oh, if you don't have paperwork from the government, then you're not married, because that is the culture. And they will say that, well, give unto Caesar what is Caesar, or whatever governmental laws you were placed under, those were the governmental laws that you were placed under. But let me criticize that aspect of it really quick here. You can live with someone. It is not illegal. You can have sex with someone in a good relationship. It is not illegal if you don't have this marriage certificate. The marriage certificate doesn't make it illegal for you to dwell with someone, to form a partnership with someone. This is culture, not legality. So therefore, the idea that someone is only married if they have paperwork from a government source is not what marriage is supposed to be, or is not what marriage is. That is just government controls for taxation and property rights and that sort of thing. Because you have people in other countries where they didn't have this. And then some countries don't recognize other countries' marriage certificate. Technically, each state in America only recognizes the other so that other people will recognize theirs. But technically, there is no federal law that says marriage in one state is marriage in another state. Technically, marriage in your state is only marriage in your state. It's just that other states will recognize it. So it's not a federal thing across the board. Many people don't know that and don't think about it because the states allow it. It's kind of like I have a permit to carry. My permit to carry is valid throughout the Southeast for the most part. But if I go to New York, my Georgia permit to carry does not carry over to the city, to New York. It does not carry over to some of the states out west. Only throughout the Southeast do they recognize Georgia's permit to carry. But the marriage license is recognized throughout. There was a time where The U.S. didn't recognize marriage licenses from Mexico, so those marriages were considered invalid. That's just customs of law, but that has nothing to do with you being in a committed relationship with one another. But Paul's message concerning it is better to marry than to burn was the focus on the fact that he believed and he taught that Jesus was going to come back before that generation died. So y'all have a great day. And remember, you got to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.